In this presentation, we provide the recent knowledge acquired on consumer attitudes in Europe regarding the alternatives to surgical castration of piglets. Surgical castration of male piglets has been strongly contested by animal welfare organizations in several European countries. Different alternatives are currently applied in several countries, based on changes in policy, retailer demands or assurance programs, and also farmers' request. However, differences in the degree of application, as well as regional differences, can be observed. There are different reasons why alternatives have not taken root in some countries. For boar production, limited market acceptance is due to the differences in pork quality, as well as boar taint. Immunocastration can solve a major part of the quality issues related to the production of boars, as it prevents boar taint, and it also shifts the meat quality more towards that of castrated male pigs. However, large-scale implementation of immunocastration is mainly held back because consumer acceptance of this practice is questioned by stakeholders in the pork chain. There is therefore a need to increase the insights in the level of acceptance and a better understanding of which alternative is acceptable to whom and why. And also, to determine which information is needed throughout the pork chain. To do so, literature review has been performed. And based on this, a survey to evaluate consumer and stakeholder attitudes has been developed and performed in 16 European countries. The main conclusions from the review and from the survey are given in this presentation. Different methodologies are used to evaluate consumer attitudes. Perception of piglet castration can be measured by quantitative studies, such as choice experiments, ranking, evaluation of acceptability, or assessment of the willingness to pay. Other studies are based on qualitative approaches, such as focus group discussions. One thing that almost all of these studies have in common is that information is first given before questioning the attitudes. The reason for providing information is the overall low consumer awareness about piglet castration and the possible alternatives. Several studies indicate that about 40 to 50% of the consumers are aware that male pigs are castrated. Moreover, only few people know the term boar taint, and probably even less consciously experience this off-odor. Also, the knowledge on the alternatives is limited. This implies that information needs to be given when studying attitudes. However, it is often questioned whether the provided information itself, and the terminology used, may influence consumer attitudes. Besides, it is also interesting to know whether information strategies that stress food safety in a positive or in a negative way may affect consumer attitudes. The effect of terminology and extensiveness of the provided information has been evaluated in a number of studies. In general, these studies do not indicate differences when more information or pros and/or cons were added. Adding the term hormone did not alter the ranking of immunocastration, although opinions were more outspoken. Adding information related to food safety, such as no residuals, no risk for human safety, did also not result in a difference in acceptability. The group of Titans et al. Studied the effect of extensiveness as well as format. Including more extensive information on paper did again not affect consumer attitudes, whilst providing audiovisual information in addition to extensive information did increase the preference for immunocastration. Two studies also more explicitly tested the effect of information about quality. In the study of Fredrickson, adding the information about possible presence of boar taint decreased the willingness to buy meat from entire male pigs. The same effect was also found in the study of Sudring and the acceptability of immunocastration. Adding a statement such as high risk for boar taint decreased the acceptability by 9%. Based on these and the previous studies on type of information, it seems that information on quality has a higher effect than information on the safety of the meat. Studies specifically aiming to evaluate this are currently not yet performed, but some studies do confirm the higher importance of quality at purchase. It can be concluded that overall consumers' awareness is low and that information needs to be provided. The provided information must be thoroughly prepared and tested. Check if it is clear and sufficient. A good interpretation of the outcome of consumer studies is only possible when this information is included in the publication. The consumer's decision-making depends on information, beliefs and knowledge, convenience and taste of the meat, healthiness, and price. For the different alternatives, it is assumed that consumers mainly consider a trade-off between animal welfare, taste, and food safety. To perform the survey, we prepared a questionnaire and infographic with background information to evaluate consumer attitudes based on quality, food safety, and animal welfare. This questionnaire is currently available in 20 languages. The questionnaire was set up in discussion with the cost group, was pre-tested in Belgium and Spain, and further optimized based on a focus group discussion. The results of this survey are reported for the respondents of 16 countries. Responses were collected via convening sampling. Results are based on at least 175 respondents per country, of which 24% were professionally involved in pig production. Before questioning the attitude of the respondents, an infographic was provided with some general information about why surgical castration is performed and why alternatives are envisaged. Next, the 4 options were presented side by side. One of the questions surveyed the acceptability of the 4 presented options. Of the 4 presented options, the practice of castration without anesthesia was overall least accepted, 32%, whilst there was a high acceptance for castration with anesthesia, 88%, followed by immunocastration, 71%, and production of boars, 49%. Further differentiation could be made between the stakeholder groups. The non-professionally involved respondents accepted castration without anesthesia much less than the farmers, the stakeholders involved in processing, and those involved in retail. The respondents strongly distinguished the practice of surgical castration without pain relief from the other alternatives, due to animal welfare reasons. This was even more outspoken by non-professionally involved respondents. For castration with anesthesia, there was a high acceptance and high consensus throughout the different respondent categories, as this option aligns well with expectations regarding welfare, safety, as well as good taste. Our prerequisite is a practically and economically feasible, good and correct implementation of this practice in the field to comply with expectations. Immunocastration also have a high degree of acceptance. Overall, respondents have confidence in immunocastration as practice, as it improves animal welfare and guarantees a good quality. So, although the aspect of a possibly negative perception regarding food safety is often debated, most respondents had a positive or neutral attitude and a high confidence in food safety in general. How the respondents perceive the potential impact of boar taint surely impacts the acceptability of boar production in attitude questionnaires. Besides, it can be seen that stakeholders involved in food processing were less positive towards boar production. Overall, a higher acceptance can be anticipated if the risk for boar taint can be limited, but this requires knowledge and information exchange throughout the pig chain. This can be supported by the work done in IPEMA, addressing the reduction and detection of boar taint and valorization of tainted carcasses. More information about the work done in this working group is available in the publication that will appear in the special issue of Animals. Thank you for your attention.